Jeremy Bash, can you jump into the conversation and address this question of adults in the room, which seems to be emerging as a theme this hour? Because my understanding is that two senior members of the National Security Council, H.R. McMaster and his deputy, were both in the room when the president met in the Oval Office with Sergei Kislyak and Sergei Lavrov and called then ousted FBI Director Jim Comey a nut job and crazy. So it doesn't always have the desired effect, does it?
No, it doesn't, but it is critical that those senior advisors be in the room with the president because they can serve as a check potentially on his ability to give away too much to Putin. Putin's done this many more times than Trump has. Putin is really good at this, and our president is not as experienced and is not as capable at taking on the Russian leader in this context. But I want to go back to one thing the ambassador said, because I disagree with it. We were attacked. We were attacked in our election by the Russians, by Putin personally. Our intelligence has confirmed it. So anything other than a full-throated condemnation, both publicly and privately, is in itself the biggest capitulation of an American president that you could find documented in our history. So I disagree with the ambassador. I think unless we do that, and we do that with force and with precision, it is a capitulation.
Ambassador, you want to jump in and respond?
I absolutely agree that Trump has got to cope with that problem in some way. And, you know, my advice for him would be take it head on and say to Putin in the top of the meeting, I've got to tell you that interference in our elections is unacceptable and we will not allow it. And then he's got to go out after the meeting and say, I told Putin it was unacceptable and we will not allow it. The president has got many different audiences in this meeting, not just Putin himself, but also the Congress and the public back here, allies. And one test of an American president abroad is how well he can cope with multiple audiences and come out looking like a credible figure.
Jeremy Bash, one thing that is striking is that he walks into this meeting as an American president at odds with 98 U.S. senators when it comes to the vote on sanctions. How much is the partisanship that has sadly sort of bedeviled presidents of both parties over the last 16 years giving way to sort of a bizarre Putin-Russia fixation that is sort of Trump-esque but doesn't really describe the foreign policy impulses of Republican senators like John McCain and Lindsey Graham and Bob Corker?
Well, there is a unified American foreign policy about Russia, and it is to strongly condemn their actions in Ukraine, to strongly express concern about the way they've threatened our NATO allies, and to express grave concern about the way they've maintained the Assad regime and therefore propped up other problematic partners like Iran in the region, not to mention all the condemnation about their meddling in the election. That is a unified American position. As you referenced, there's a near unanimity on Capitol Hill about it, and so for the White House to work against the sanctions bill in the House of Representatives shows that this president is really cutting across the grain on that issue.
Eli, where would you put the